Okay, in Hilchot Rosh HaShana, in the tour, we are now in Siman Taf Kuf Pei 585, and now he speaks about how you blow the shofar. He says, "Ve'omed hatokea litkoa, shetzarich sheitka me'umad or me'omed." People read it differently. So he says that the tokea, the one who blows the shofar, has to stand up because you have to blow the shofar while standing. Why is that? Why do we blow the shofar standing? If we would ask anyone, we would say it just seems more respectful to do it while standing, and it's more difficult to blow the shofar while sitting. But the Torah says, "Dichtiv yom teruah yeh lachem." It shall be for you a day of teruah, a day of blowing the shofar. Still, in the words, "It shall be for you a day of teruah," it's not indicated that it's standing, right? So how does it work? Ve'alfinan milachem dichtiv gabe omer. So we learn it, we compare the words Yom teruah yeh lachem, it shall be for you a day of teruah, to the words Usfartem lachem imachorat Shabbat, you shall count, it shall be for you a day of counting from the day following Shabbat. So just as in Sfirat HaOmer you stand, so also in the shofar, while you blow the shofar you stand. How do you know? We take it for granted that you stand during Sfirat HaOmer. Dichtiv me'achel hermesh bakama, al tikre bakama, ela bekoma. The Torah says you have to count the Omer from the time that the scythe or the sickle starts cutting the kama. Kama means the grains, the wheat, while they're standing tall in the field. So they say just as bakama also could be read as bekoma while standing up. Therefore, you count the Omer while standing and blow the shofar while standing. Now, all this, even though it looks beautiful, it's tenuous. There's really no substance there from a logical point of view for two reasons. Well, let's start from the end. The Torah doesn't. When the Torah says "Usfartem lachem machorat Shabbat," me'achel hermesh bakama. When the sickle hits the wheat, right? It's about harvesting the wheat. That the wheat is standing and you're standing because you can't harvest the wheat while sitting. That's one thing. The other problem is that lachem appears in many other mitzvot. It shall be for you. For example, ulkachtem lachem b'yom harishon. Are we going to say that everywhere the Torah says the word lachem, it's standing? Obviously not. So what we have here is what we call asmachta, meaning the practice already existed, and then you look for a support from it from the textual, from the text, from the Tanakh, to explain to people why you do it in a certain way. Remember that I said yesterday that rabbi-ovadia he had to institute in Caesarea that they would do both standing and sitting tekiot because there were two different practices. So for people it was more practical, even if the tokea stands up, that everybody will sit, but there were some where the practice to stand. So they brought this pasuk to support the argument that you stand during the blowing of the shofar. The shulchan-aruch, Rabbi Yosef legislated it very simply, tzarich litkoa me'umad. So he's not getting into right now into the question what the audience, what the kahal does, just the tokea himself. Says the tokea, the one who blows the shofar, has to stand. Tzarich litkoa me'umad. The Haggah, Rabbi Moshe Yisrael is Ed, v'nohagim litkoa al habima b'makom shekorin, and the minhag is to blow the shofar. The Baal Tokea stands at the bima next to the hazan or to the cantor. The Rama has to specify b'makom shekorim where you read the Torah, because in the Ashkenazi synagogues there's a different location for reading the Torah and for the hazan. Not in the modern synagogues in America, but in most traditional and still Orthodox synagogues in America, the way the place for the hazan is by the echal. Makes no sense whatsoever because no one can hear him, but it comes from the structure of the churches in Europe. The whole structure of the Ashkenazi synagogue is after the churches in Europe. The pews, narrow rows, back to back. I mean, one behind the other. In a way, when you pray in the traditional Ashkenazi synagogue, you only see the back of the person who sits ahead of you, and the Hazan is at the beginning of the synagogue. Sometimes you cannot hear him. Only the Torah is read from the middle. In the Sephardic synagogues, the Teva, the Hazan, everything happens in the middle, and the people sit in a U shape, so everybody could see each other. There's a more participatory nature to the tefillah. In America and in Israel also, many Ashkenazi synagogues adopted, even if they have the Hazan in the front, but they adopted the sitting format of the Sephardic synagogues. Anyway, that is the practice both for Sephardim and Ashkenazim, that the shofar is blown from the bima. So one other element, like Terry mentions, in the Altneu Shul in Prague, in other Ashkenazi synagogues, they used to do for the Hazan a lower, like sort of a lowered floor to follow the pasuk. I call you out of the depths, which is unnecessary because the depths are the depths of the heart. You don't need to physically put the Hazan down. Maybe, who knows, I'm just saying, maybe it was instituted by a president of a shul who didn't like the Hazan. He said, okay, I'm going to put you down. But there is on the other hand, in the original Sephardic synagogues, which we don't see today, following something that was probably also practiced at the time of the Mishnah, and maybe even goes all the way back to Ezra Sofer, because this is how it's written in Sefer Ezra. It says that he read the Torah from a migdal, from a tower. So those of you who visited Rabbi Yitzhak Abu Hab's synagogue in Tzefat and Rabbi Yosef Karo's synagogue, you know that the Teva was not just as our Teva with 3 steps. It was really almost, the floor was at about 3 to 5 feet above the, and that's, the Hazan had to stand there and he's shaking, afraid that he's going to fall, maybe that to instill fear in his heart. Anyway, this is the structure of the synagogue. Here we read the next halacha in the tool. It says, "V'kodem sheyitkar yevarech lishmoa kol shofar velo litkoa delav bitkiat aliyah milta ela bishmi'a ki detnan atokea letoch habor v'chulei lo yatsa." He speaks about the text of the blessing. What do you say exactly when you say the bracha? You say, Baruch atah Hashem, Asher kidenu, blessed are you, God, who commanded us to do what? To hear the shofar, and not to blow the shofar. Why? Lav bitki'at aleh milta, because the mitzvah is not to blow it, because otherwise everybody would have to blow his own shofar. But rather the mitzvah is to hear the shofar. And the proof that he brings from that, even though it's obvious, it's the simple proof would be from the Torah. Yom Teruah yelachem, a day of Teruah. And if you look at this word and you look at other occurrences that is in the Torah, it says ta'aviru shofar teruah b'chol artechem. Torah says you will pass the shofar through the land. So it's just logical that one person would blow the shofar and everybody would hear. But he brings another proof from the Mishnah, and that is hatokea letoch habor or letoch hadut im kol shofar shama yatsa. It doesn't bring the whole thing. V'im kol havara shama lo yatsa. It says if someone blows the shofar into a pit or into the basement, if he heard a full voice of the shofar, he fulfilled his obligation. And if he only heard an echo, he did not, like broken voices, he did not fulfill his obligation. Now, just as a side, it's not the tool does not discuss it, but I want to explain it. This Mishnah is a little strange. Why would someone blow into a pit or into the basement? Or the third element in the Mishnah is letocha pitas, a big jar. Why would someone blow into a jar with a shofar? So the traditional commentary is that it was done at the time of persecutions, that people were not allowed to blow the shofar, so they blew into in a place where the sound would be contained. But that is not understood, because the way it's described, the person stands outside and he blows into a vessel or into a pit. That if he could hear it while standing outside, so would other people. If they really did it because of persecutions, everybody should have gone into the basement and be in the basement and or a cave and blow the shofar there, and not stand outside and blow into a vessel. So there is strong evidence to show that there was a practice. People believed in the magical powers of the shofar. So, especially on Rosh HaShana, the people would blow the shofar over new things that they had at home to bless them. So, for example, and then the bowl is not a regular pit; it's a water well. The dut that is mentioned is not a regular basement; it's a wine cellar where you keep your wine. And the pitas also is a big jar where you keep wine or other elements. So we used to blow the shofar over them, sort of to grant them blessing. I know it sounds strange, but we have evidence from the time of the Mishnah that people also thought that mezuzot, you could put mezuzah on or write the holy names on furniture and like to grant them blessing. So but that's why the Mishnah says if you blew the shofar in that manner to bless those things, you still, if you heard the full shofar, you fulfill your obligation. But if you only heard broken voices, you didn't fulfill the obligation. I want to address the question of what you brought up. If we say that the obligation is to hear a shofar, so why do we have to tell the tokea, have in mind to cover for everyone? So one is to cover for the blessing, but the other thing is just a practical thing. Imagine like in the Bet Knesset, you read the Torah, you took that. Now it's about time to blow the shofar. And without any announcement, the person just goes up and blows the shofar. Some people will pay attention, some people would not pay attention. With this preparation, saying you have to have kavanah, he's going to say the bracha, he's going to represent you. People are more tuned in to what is happening. Not that it is really necessary, because the Mishnah even says this: Ha'over ahorei bet haKnesset. ושמע קול שופר, אם כיוון ליבו יצא, אם לא כיוון ליבו לא יצא, you pass behind the Bet Knesset. And they happen to blow the shofar. The Tokea didn't have you in mind, he's thinking about the people in the Bet Knesset. Still, you're covered. So you're right.
Curious if the Mechaber has a different view of the
He doesn't say that. He doesn't say that here. It doesn't say, not in this part, yeah. So, the mitzvah is to hear the shofar. And רבנו תם כתב, יש לברך על תקיעת שופר, משום דעשייתה יגמר מצוותה. There's another opinion that says, don't say לשמוע כל שופר, but על תקיעת שופר, like you say על נטילת לולב in the same format. ורבייה, but they brought different sources that you find in the Talmud Yerushalmi that they say לשמוע כל שופר. ולא מברכים לתקוע או על תקיעת שופר, כמו על מקרא מגילה, משום דבשמיעת כל שופר הוא יוצא ולא בתקיעת שופר. And he says like we said before, you fulfill the mitzvah with hearing and not with blowing, and that's why now the Bet Yosef wants to say, probably to answer my question, why did the tool ignore the clear pasuk or even logic that you can't have everyone blowing the shofar, and the Torah says pass the shofar through the land. Why do you have to go to this Mishnah, obscure Mishnah, that if you blow into a vessel and you heard the shofar, it's good, if not, you're not good? It says ופעמים שהתוקע בעצמו לא יצא, כגון שהיה עומד על שפת הבור והכניס פיו לתוך הבור ותוקע. Sometimes the one who blows shofar does not fulfill the mitzvah if he blows into the pit. Meaning, it could be an interesting situation where someone blows the shofar, let's say into a pit, and other people stand around him. The person who blew the shofar hears a broken voice because he's close to the pit, and the people who are outside or around him hear a clear voice because it's projected. So the one who blew the shofar did not fulfill his obligation. The other people did fulfill their obligation. So that's the proof that it's about hearing and not blowing.
So who makes the prayer? The person that
the person who blows the shofar.
Only, so yes. The congregation
right.
don't.
The congregation doesn't say that.
It's interesting because I remember studying this Mishnah in Rosh HaShana, but the way I understood it is that it is the problem being it's an indirect as opposed to a direct, because when
that's later pilpulim, abstract pilpulim.
That's not okay.
There's no reason for that. That's to say it bounces off the wall and then you
hear the echo and not the direct sound.
No, the difference, I don't accept this perush. I'm sorry, because havara Havara is not echo. Havara is broken.
Yeah.
That's the meaning of that. Like the shofar is broken into pieces. Yeah. Now he adds one more thing. Katuv b'trumat hadesh. Now he quotes. That's the Bet Yosef quotes an Ashkenazi Rabbi Mahara, Rabbi Israel Iserlin, from the 40th century. מי שכבר יצא ידי חובת תקיעת שופר ובא לתקוע כדי להוציא את חברו. Now, what happens if you already fulfill the obligation and you have to go and blow the shofar for someone else? Very common, like I told you, used to go for the elderly, right? So, do you say, who says the bracha? מן הדין לא יברך התוקע אלא השומע מברך, אבל אין נוהגים כן. According to halacha, it should be the one who blows the shofar doesn't say the bracha because he already fulfilled his mitzvah, but the one who hears the shofar would say it, but he says that's not our minhag. And the Rambam, Maimonides writes, אחד העושה מצווה לעצמו ואחד העושה לאחרים, מברך קודם עשייתה אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו לעשות. Now he talks about the Shehayanu. We also say bracha Shehayanu. We thank Hashem for bringing us to that day. Every time we have something that we do a mitzvah which is related to a holiday that comes only once at a time, we say Shehayanu. So even though we say Shehayanu in the Kiddush, there's a specific mitzvah to blow the shofar, we say Shehayanu for that also. So Maimonides says, whether you do the mitzvah for yourself or for others, you say the baracha on the performance of the mitzvah. But the Shehayanu, you can only do for what you do for yourself. So according to Maimonides, if you blew the shofar in the Bet Knesset, and you say, let's say you're the Tokea, and you say Shehayanu and Al Lishma Kol Shofar, and then you go and you blow shofar for someone else, you cannot repeat Shehayanu. נראה מכאן שמי שיצא לא יברך שהחיינו ואין נוהגים כן, but that's not the minhag. And then he explains the Maimonides in the Rambam in a different way. The way, let's say how we'll finish with that. The way the shulchan-aruch finalizes it, says קודם שיתקע יברך לשמוע כל שופר ויברך שהחיינו. Before you blow the shofar, you say לשמוע כל שופר שהחיינו, and the Haggah adds אין חילוק בין אם יברך לעצמו או שכבר יצא וברך להוציא אחרים, אפילו אחרי מברך התוקע שתי ברכות הנזכרות, and it doesn't matter whether he does it for himself or for others, he does the two bרכות. Our minhag, I know from my grandfather, I don't know if it's minhag in this specific case, minhag Bavel or minhag Yerushalayim, I believe this is the Bavli tradition. When we would blow shofar after the prayer, let's say to my grandmother or other people who could hear the shofar, we would have them say the baracha, both barachot, lishmoa kol shofar and shehayanu, and so we say this nahara ufashteh. To each his practice, each candle burns in its own specific light.
Always lishmoa then.
Always lishmoa, always shehayanu for the first time. Question is whether the person who blows the shofar does it after he did it in the Bet Knesset, or the person who hears when it's a sort of like a private setting. Baruch Adonai, le'olam amen.